Here's a full podcast script you can use. Title: Why you imagine the worst-case scenario. What if your brain is trying to protect you, but it is actually making your life harder? Think about the last time you were waiting for an important message. Maybe your boss wanted to talk to you. Maybe someone did not answer your text. Maybe you had a medical test coming up. Before you knew it, your mind had already created a disaster movie. You imagined losing your job, ending a friendship, or hearing terrible news. The strange thing is that, most of the time, none of those things happened. So why does your brain keep doing it? Today, we're going to explore why you imagine the worst-case scenario and what you can do to stop letting those thoughts control your life. Your brain is always looking for danger. Thousands of years ago, this helped people survive. If our ancestors ignored possible threats, they were less likely to stay alive. It was safer to think that the noise in the bushes was a dangerous animal than to assume everything was fine. That habit is still with us today. The problem is that modern life is very different. Most of us are not running away from wild animals. Instead, our brains react to emails, phone calls, and awkward conversations as if they are life-or-death situations. This matters because imagining the worst can quietly change the way you live. You might avoid opportunities because you are afraid of failing. You may worry about conversations that never happen. You could spend hours feeling stressed about problems that never become real. Over time, this can make you tired, anxious, and less confident. The worst part is that you may believe these scary thoughts are facts, even though they are only guesses. The first thing to understand is that your brain prefers certainty. When you do not know what will happen, your mind tries to fill in the missing information. Unfortunately, it often fills those empty spaces with fear. Imagine that your friend usually replies to your messages within an hour. One day, they do not answer until the evening. Suddenly, your mind starts asking questions. Are they angry with me? Did I say something wrong? Maybe they do not want to be my friend anymore. Hours later, they finally reply. Their phone battery died, and they were busy at work. The scary story your brain created felt real, but it was completely wrong. Your brain does not always care about being accurate. It cares about being prepared. It believes that if it expects the worst, it cannot be surprised. But expecting the worst usually steals your peace without giving you any real protection. The second idea is that your feelings are not always reliable evidence. This is something many people forget. If you feel afraid, you naturally think there must be a reason. But emotions are signals, not proof. Picture someone who has to give a presentation at work. The night before, they cannot sleep. Their heart is racing. They think, I feel so nervous. That must mean I'm going to fail. But is that really true? Not at all. They are nervous because the presentation matters to them. In fact, many successful speakers still feel nervous before they stand in front of an audience. The feeling does not predict the result. The same thing happens in everyday life. You may feel worried before applying for a new job, asking someone out, or starting a new project. Your emotions are real, but they are not fortune tellers. Feeling afraid does not mean something bad is about to happen. The third insight is that your imagination is incredibly powerful. The problem is that you often use it only to imagine negative futures. Think about it. If someone says they want to meet with you tomorrow, your brain might immediately imagine all the reasons why this meeting will be terrible. But how often do you imagine the opposite? How often do you picture the meeting going well, receiving good news, or solving a problem more easily than expected? Probably not very often. A woman once shared that every time her son drove somewhere, she imagined a car accident. She knew these thoughts were unlikely, but she could not stop them. Then one day she decided to try something different. Every time the scary image appeared, she replaced it with another one. She imagined her son arriving safely, smiling, and telling her about his day. Nothing around her changed. But her stress became much smaller because she gave her imagination a different job. Your imagination is like a tool. It can build fear, or it can build hope. You decide which direction to practice more often. So what can you do the next time your mind creates a worst-case scenario? Try asking yourself one simple question. What else could be true? If your boss wants to talk to you, maybe it is good news. If someone does not answer your message, maybe they are simply busy. If you make one mistake during a presentation, maybe nobody will even notice. This question does not force you to become unrealistically positive. It simply reminds you that your first thought is not the only possible answer. Instead of believing the first scary story your brain tells you, pause for a moment. Give yourself permission to imagine at least one other explanation. The more you practice this habit, the easier it becomes. Your brain slowly learns that uncertainty does not always mean danger. Over time, you may notice that you spend less energy worrying about things that never happen. Life will always include uncertainty. No one can avoid that. But you do not have to let fear write every story before it begins. Your mind is creative, and that is a wonderful gift. The goal is not to stop imagining. The goal is to imagine more wisely. The next time your brain whispers, something terrible is about to happen, smile for a moment and remember that your brain is trying to protect you, not predict the future. Then choose to stay curious instead of afraid. You might discover that reality is much kinder than the stories you tell yourself.